So yeah, I mean, so back to what I was saying before, like, I noticed that parents are like getting, more and more like compassionate, like I don't know if you noticed this, but like when you look at like our parents or grandparents, like th don't you feel like they were like more aggressive back in the day and now they're starting to soften up a little? Did you notice that?
Yeah, because if you think about it, internet information wasn't what it is today, not even 40 years ago. So we're coming from a generation, from an era where everything was controlled, especially information. Even the Catholic Church would control the Bible. You had to go to the church to read the Bible. Um, you had to go to the library to read a book. So it was very controlled. They did not have the understanding that we have today. And I feel a lot of things changed. If you think about it, woman didn't have the right or the space, right? Woman represents the emotion, correct? Woman
Mhm.
represents the intuition, the emotion. So that wasn't really welcome in society back then. Man couldn't cry. If you
Yeah.
cried, you were perceived as weak. So now with all of that knowledge and understanding, of how that is just one with us. We can't disconnect from our emotions. It's really what drives our character in society. And if and yeah, and then nowadays we're understanding how crucial it is to understand about the emotions because if you don't tame it, if you don't control it, it controls you. So
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot more about processing emotions than we used to, And like you said, like, back in the day, men, if you were a man that cried, you were shamed. And even today, like if I were to cry over something, something, especially something small, I would be shamed to a certain extent. So we're still working on that. We're still working on a lot of things, like also like men complimenting each other, that doesn't really happen. Girls call each other pretty all the time and men don't really do that. And I don't know if you know this, but the male suicide rate is actually 4 times higher right now. So
wow.
there's a lot going on, and both genders are suffering a lot. And now
Suppressed emotions, a lot of suppressed emotions. So what happened is if you're blocking your emotions for so long, eventually the body cannot take it for too long because the body is so intelligent. If it we can process, we can go to activate the body and go to fight or flight with the thought alone, right? We can just by thought activate the fight or flight. And when we activate the fight or flight in the body, what happens is the body suppresses all of oxygen, all of the life energy to all of the organs because it might need the remain of energy that you still have to survive, for you to either fight or flight, run for your life. So it's depriving all of the other organs out of life. So when you activate the survival mode, you are not only having a lot of cortisol in your body and accelerated heartbeat, and there's so much that goes on. And if you keep holding on to that state of mind for too long, you're killing the body.
yeah.
You're destroying the immune system. You're opening up doors for any disease. That's why the there's so many disease now, cancers, everything, but it all comes down to how are you treating the body? Are you in survival or are you living your life, in creative mode? Also, the body won't even create if you don't open that safe space. If you don't get out of adrenaline, if you don't get out of stress, it won't be creative. So it's
So
really bad.
what do you think is the proper way to process emotions? Let's say, for example, I have a friend, female friend, a few weeks ago, her father was actually murdered. Long story short, the guy was he was shooting. It was a gang. I think it was a gang member. It was a kid though. He shot at someone, then he missed, and then it hit my friend's father while he was driving. And this was just like a month ago. So what do you think is the proper way to process emotions?
That's a tough situation. I'm not saying it's easy, but first you have to practice observing your emotions without making any judgment. You have to get practice to get to that state of mind. Are you able to see your emotions face to face without judging anything, without labeling anything? So that's why meditation and mindfulness comes into place. It's not so you can just zone, it's meditation is really you practicing that space, opening that space to be the observer of your emotions and your thoughts. And then a lot of things are going to come. It's going to be confusing. You're going to feel a lot of emotions, but practice watching your emotions. And then you have to understand, you have to see it from every perspective, right? People only give what they have. First of all, people that hurt people because they were hurt,
Hurt
they're not
people.
even thinking. So if you have the heart and the mind not connected to each other, it's like if you eliminate the mind, it's like a drunk person, if you think about it, right? You're only acting with your emotions, so you're not going to think, you're reacting. When you do that, you're not harming only the other person, you're harming yourself. You're not on your fullness understanding of life. So, a person who kills another person, I'm not saying that, they're doing the right thing, but they're just unaware. They're just unaware. It's just ignorance. They probably saw so much of that life they're replicating through life because this is what happened too. Once you have an environment as a child and your body is exposed to certain chemicals, emotional, let's say you're always scared or you're always worried because you don't know what version of your parents you're going to get that day. There's so much that goes on as so for so many people, right? Some people have unstable parents, other people just have unstable community. So whatever you were going through as a kid, the body took
Absorb.
that because it was so repetitive for so many times and it made it as a default. So now you're operating on default and you don't even know. So you're attracting situations out of fear because you're so used to, let's say if you have a lot of fear of losing something, right? And now you're always with fear of losing someone, fear of losing something. You're going to attract situations so you can continue to feel that way. Unconsciously, the body's going to build rapport into situations and people because it's familiar to it. Not
Mhm.
that it's good for you, not that it's healthy for you, but it's familiar. So it's going to drag you to those situations so you can continue to repeat those cycles. So in her case, I'm not sure what was her childhood look like, what it looked like, if she was always with so much fear, but she has to understand that holding grudges and not releasing forgiveness, she's not hurting the person, she's hurting herself.
Mhm.
Because once you hold on to that emotional charge, because every memory, every image is attached to an emotion.
Mhm.
So when we get a memory is an image, and it's the senses, right? It's the smell, it's the it's your senses. So the more emotions you have attached to that experience, the stronger the memory gets. And a lot of memories are archived in our body that is draining the life out of us, taking all the life out of us. So it's really harming us, not them. So it's really working with the narratives, understanding that, what is going to benefit me, what is going to benefit my reality, understanding that people only do the things that they only give what they have, even if it's coming out of ignorance. Sometimes they're not even aware of the things that they're doing. They're just reacting and they're just pushing through life without even understanding what they're doing. So it's just working with the narratives, working with that person, understanding, going and going through every emotion little
Mhm.
by little, working on it. I think the narratives is the main thing. Narratives. You can't just because you have to think this way. The everybody's born into a built-in program, an original program. You can call it a program, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but there's an identity that everybody has, and it's influenced by the environment through DNA. There's a lot of information that comes through the DNA,
Mhm.
through the country that you were born in. There's a lot of influences that create that identity.
Mhm. Mhm.
And as a child, you're not fully formed in awareness and judgment. So you're just labeling everything as, oh, poor me, or oh, he did that to me, or it's very limited. So everybody has to go through the reprogramming of self. And the previous program is like the devil. I call it the devil, the ego, whatever you want to call it, right? But because it's like an entity, it's always going to try to drag you back, convince you to go back to it. It's always going to drag you back to default because the body uses less energy. It uses less cognitive energy. So it's easier for us to just go back to the old ways of thinking, of judging, of having that victim mindset. So if you're aware and if you're harnessing your energy and your discipline, and you're gonna do the work and you're gonna become that new entity. But it takes a lot of work. You gotta work with the person, little by little, going through your emotions, your mindset, and doing the review and breaking, re-signifying, I would say, changing the meaning little by
Yeah.
little so you can release those limited beliefs.
I think you're referring to cognitive reframing, like when you change the way you think and when you change, your thought patterns. Yeah. So I watched a psychiatrist on YouTube a lot. His name is Dr. K. I don't know if you ever heard of him. Um,
Okay.
but he talks a lot about this concept about how what was adaptive as a child becomes maladaptive as an adult. So, for example, like let's just say you had an abusive parent. Now you might be super, super quiet as a child in order to avoid the attention of the parent. And then now as an adult, it's not necessarily good to be super, super quiet everywhere you go. So now what became adaptive and what was good at one point now is maladaptive. And now, like you said, you have to go through the cognitive reframing and do the work and understand, okay, I'm not in the same situation. Now I'm an adult. Now I'm not under my parents' influence. So now it's like now you have to do the cognitive reframing. And like I really like talking about like parenting because when you really think about it, right? What percent of parents are like good, solid, non-neglectful, like non-over aggressive parents that are there for their kids, that are not abusive, not emotionally or verbally, that didn't leave the child, that are still together. Like it's such a small percentage of parents that are actually like genuinely, genuinely great parents, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
I agree with you because the older generation did not know any better, did not know, and it's okay. The process of reprogramming the self is like going through death. That's why I say you have to get that old program and you got to carry to the cross because you're going to experience grief. So it's a lot of work that you have to do, to understand that, they did not know better. Majority of our society is coming from that limited mindset, and it's okay because this is the thing, we want to believe that our parents are the role models, right? That they're perfect. We don't want to see the ugly. We don't want to take the rose color glasses off. It's hard to do that, just to open that space, just for you to accept, let me just review, let me see if there's something that I can change. Just to get to that mindset is really hard. So a lot of people don't even want to see it, but I believe that we should all be doing that for sure. For sure.
Yeah, and especially in our
Nobody's per
especially in ourselves, like a lot of people don't analyze the ways that they can improve, and it really comes down to his ego. You could say emotions too. I think ego and emotions are linked, but like a lot of people don't take the time to think like maybe that was my fault, like they don't take the time to think about the ways that they can improve.
Yeah, and there's you can't blame anything outside of yourself. You can't, even if the people did an injustice to you, because we can always learn from situations. It's always a game. So that's one of my narratives that I go through life. I never lose. I always win because even a loss is a win for me because I'm always evolving. So the first stage, you're gonna feel like you're treated like an injustice, right? Was done to you. And you're gonna feel like you want to blame your parents, you want to blame the whole world, you want to blame everybody. But then you continue to go through the process of reprogramming yourself and healing. You're gonna come to another stage of anger, mad, like just like grieving. And then you're gonna come till the stage that you're finally accepting, okay, they only did that because they did not know any better and they are just replicating generation and generation to a point where it stops here with me, right? So
Hopefully.
why not have me teach them the ways? Why not have me help them with the ways that they were never fully, taught? And so you kind of grow from that, and then you realize it's silly to just blame everybody for things in the past, You can always extract the golden nuggets, whatever you want to call it, the treasures from any situation. So at the end of it, you're going to look back and you say, thank God that that happened because that built me up. So we grow from struggles. We grow from struggles. We do not grow from good times.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's working with the new.
it's the hard times that b build the character and that make us stronger. And like you said, we go through stages, we go through emotional and cognitive stages. And I do think that forgiveness is a great goal, but at the same time, like sometimes you have to give people or yourself that time to be angry. Like for example, like when I was speaking to my friend, the one that her father got murdered, like she was very like this was only a few days after he was murdered. I was speaking to her. She was extremely angry, talking about how she wants the kid to suffer. She just wanted revenge and anger, and like even though I do believe in forgiveness, I did not mention that because the thing is, you have to let them grieve. You have to
I
let them
agree
be
with you.
angry. And
Absolutely.
I validated her feelings. I told her like, yeah, like you have the right to be angry, and it's only fair. Like he caused you guys so much suffering, so it's only fair that he suffers too. And I validated her feelings because the last thing she wanted to hear is you better forgive him. You know what I'm saying? Like she would have flipped
Yeah,
on me if I did
I
that.
wouldn't agree with her, but I would definitely that space, that time, it's necessary. You have to feel your feelings. You have to go through every single emotion and you have to have patience with yourself because sometimes it takes a little bit longer to process the emotion, and that's okay. You have to feel them. You have to understand them. And the more you understand, the more you feel, the easier it is for you to get used to that space and then work with them. The problem is avoiding them and distracting yourself. But you have to go through the stages, you know? A lot of people also stay in that madness for their life, and that's the problem too. They're killing themselves. So
Yeah.
as long as you're going through the stages, but you're evolving, you're searching, you're seeking, you're wanting healing, that's normal. It's normal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how I would forgive, because I love my parents to death. And like, if that happened to me, I don't even know like how long it would take me to forgive or if I would ever even forgive. Like, how do you forgive someone for doing something so terrible? How do you do that?
You This is the thing. First of all, the intention was not to kill her father, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It wasn't. So you have to see it from a bigger picture. Okay, did he really mean to kill my father? So if it was my father's time, if it wasn't him killing, maybe it would be my father going crossing the street and then a car would hit him. So you have to understand this. There wasn't an intention to kill. It
Hmm.
wasn't like, oh, I want to kill him. So you have to work with the truth, tell yourself the truth. Why am I so mad at the person, and why am I holding him? So I don't know his story. I don't know his intention. I don't know what he was planning to do, what he came from, the environment that he grew up. So you don't really know the heart. We can't judge the heart. We cannot judge the heart. And a lot of people will look like they're doing a lot of bad things, but the heart is something that we don't really know. So in this situation, it's it's just working with the truth, telling yourself the truth. Does he really want her to kill my dad? It was really my dad's time to go, like it's just accepting. It's hard, but you know, um, we have to be appreciative of the time we have with people. We can't control what time we have. Some people come to our lives for a little season. So other people come for a reason. Some people never get to see their dad. Other people they get to see their dad old, growing old. So it's really we can't control that, but we can control how we appreciate the moment right now. And I feel like we have to accept life that way because that's just how life is.
So it sounds like to me like you're a very strong believer in forgiveness, and it sounds to me like like you're good at forgiving. Like you don't sound like a very resentful person to me. I'm sure there are people who have wronged you in the past, and it sounds like you have forgiven them, and somehow, and you don't hold too much resentment in your heart.
Nothing, 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 because I understand life. I understand life very well, and I understand that if I'm doing that, I'm only harming myself.
Yeah.
And the more you clean your energy and you elevate your frequency, the more of that high frequency you attract in your life. So if you really want to get the destroyer out of your life and the destroyer, that low energy, you have to be able to transmute the energy. And I just got very good at transferring the energy, you know. I don't Nobody has the power over my feelings. No one, no situation, no outside experience. Nobody's my master. Not
Except
even
yourself.
yeah, nobody. So
There's this quote. Have you ever heard the poison quote about forgiveness? It's like, not forgiving someone is like drinking poison and expecting the other
the
person
other
to
one to
die.
die.
Yeah, I like that quote.
It's yeah, it makes sense. It's exactly that. It's exactly that. Because you're the only one holding that energy, and that energy is destroying you. It's literally destroying you. We can see that. We can measure that nowadays. There's studies that shows, you know. So
Yeah, I mean, bitterness literally destroys people, like not only mentally, but even physically. Like it raises the stress. It hurts the heart,
guilt,
raises blood
shame,
pressure. Yeah.
bitterness, jealousy, anger, all of that low frequency.
But okay, so here's the thing about anger. I noticed that sometimes anger replaces sadness. You understand? So like for example, like sometimes people who are low in anger tend to be higher in sadness because like no matter what, we're going to feel negative emotions, right? And sometimes they like anger and sadness kind of substitute each other. Like some people say that anger is a second emotion and it's just replacing sadness. So my question to you is, do you feel like since you're low in anger, are you maybe somewhat higher in sadness?
No, I think that we can always benefit from emotions. Anger can also be a good motivator. That's why people choose
Yeah.
anger, so they are not low in energy. But I do think that we can't avoid any emotions. I'm not a person that don't feel anything. I feel all of my emotions, but I just get good at using them for my benefit. So the problem is that when you hold on to the negative too much and you don't just use it to boost you a little bit, and then you're out of that energy, then it's destroying you, right? So you have to get good at, okay, how do I get out of anger and I can still keep that motivation or discipline in myself? Because anger was a good boost, but I can't stay in anger. Or sadness, for example. Okay, why am I sad? Because when we are sad, it's just we're processing the emotion, but we have to understand that we how do I explain this? A lot of people, okay, so when we are a kid, a lot of people want to just please other people. It's just in our DNA. So to be part of a tribe, to
Hmm.
survive. So we want to make sure our environment, unconsciously, everybody's good. So we want everybody to be happy and like us so we can fit into the tribe. So it's part of our DNA. And we carry that throughout adult lives. And that people the body gets tired of wearing a mask. So people get depressed, they get sad because they are not living the fullness of themselves. You know, they're too worried about other people, what they're going to think. And I feel like most part of depression and sadness comes from that, from not being your full self. Because the moment you don't really care about anything and you don't care about what other people think and you just live your life and you don't have any worry about any other expectations, you're just a happy kid. That's your original state. So it's really working with those limited beliefs, you know, from the past, I would say, from previous program, understanding the emotions and using them for your benefit.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like it sounds to me like you're a really happy and healthy person. Like, like obviously you've been through stuff, we all have, but it sounds to me like you're really, really good at like being positive and t using that emotions for good. So it sounds to me like you're a very happy and healthy person overall.
I am. I would say I wouldn't say happy all the time. I have like I said, I embrace all of my emotions. I don't hold on to only one, but I'm very fulfilled. I'm very fulfilled because I don't feel like there's a lost. You know, I never feel like I'm losing. I always feel like Every step back is 10 steps forwards to me. Even if I don't understand it at the time, I believe that life is always serving me, serving everybody, right? That's my true beliefs in my core. Life is always serving you, pushing you for growth. So sometimes when we attach ourselves to situations outside, that can be even your parents, even your child, the story of Abraham. It's kind of like God is testing you to see if that thing owns you. And if that thing owns you, then you're going to face challenges and you're probably going to get that thing taken away from you. Just so you understand that what you seek, the fulfillment that you really seek, it's within. And that's how life does, unfortunately. It will take things out of your hands just to show that what you're looking for, it's in you. So it's actually helping you. It's not against you. But sometimes we're like that little kid, stubborn, I want this, I want that. Don't take it from me. This is my source of happiness. This is like my identity. This is my life. And that's the problem. That's the problem. So in when we see quantum science, we're gonna also see that it's also proven that since everything is particles and atoms and everything is vibration, like Nikola Tesla said, vibration, frequency, and energy, we're going to understand that too, that once we chase something so much, it repels from us. It's like the opposite, energy. It just
Mhm.
comes, it just goes the other way. And in the moment that we are embracing the present moment and we are focusing on the now and we're just happy here right now, we become a magnet. So everything just comes to us. And people keep doing that all the time, and then the moment things keep coming to them, they get out of their space, they go chase, and then they lose that thing again, and then they practice the now again, and they're happy in the now. So until you learn how to just stay in the now and enjoy and be yourself here right now, understand you can plan the future, but what really matters, what it's real, it's your now. So I believe that that's the core of life, and everything else is just situations that we learn from, challenges that we grow from until we understand that principle. Everything that you're chasing, it's actually a state of mind. Happiness is a state of mind. You take it with you wherever you go, wherever you're at. There's a lot of people who are experiencing, they have a lot of things and they have probably they stay in the like they're traveling in beautiful countries and they're feeling miserable. They want to kill themselves. So it's a state of mind. Happiness is a state of mind. Abundance is a state of mind.
So it sounds to me like your philosophy is that happiness and inner peace is internal and we can't get it from external achievements. It's internal. It's not about money. It's not about the cars. It's not about but what about like what about family? Like would you say that family is an important part of happiness, like kids and I don't know if you have kids.
So, this is the thing. We were meant to commute. We were meant to interact. We are meant to connect with people. The moment you understand that happiness is found within, happy people just want to give. They just want to share. They just want to play with other people. They just want to give what they have.
Mhm.
So that's part of it for sure. So the moment you understand that it's all about your state of mind and what's within, everything else is a side effect and it will come to your life because you're going to be creative. You're going to be creating. Your happy people want to create, they want to share, they want to explore. So the moment you continue to do that, now you're going to have everything that you ever dreamed of come to you because you don't even want that thing anymore. You're focused on your creative, your masterpiece, your now. So yes, it is important, but it's not the driving force. It's not the reason for happiness. It should not be your source of happiness. Source should be always within. You have to learn how to attach, but you have to be ready that if anything is taken from you, you are okay because you are it. You are it. You are the source. The moment you give your power away to anything, even your family, you're not getting the point. You're going to suffer until you understand that you are it. You are first. You are number one. Because if you cannot nurture yourself and be happy, you can't make anybody around you happy.
Right. Emotions are extremely contagious. And this is actually one of my favorite topics because, I did notice in my own life that hurt people, and happy people tend to make other people happy, you know? I noticed that emotions are extremely contagious. So what do you think about that? Like, have you noticed that in your own life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why you have to protect your energy with all you have. Because
Mm.
if you're around people that are only draining your energy, because there's people that unconsciously they are just draining, they don't have the connection within. So they have to steal from other people. And one of the ways that they will steal your energy is you stealing your attention. So they're wanting to complain to you. They're wanting to, they'll do whatever it takes to steal that energy from you. And that's the problem for sure. That's people that are setting, keeping you stuck. You have to protect your energy. You know, you, who you surround yourself with, you blend energies.
Do you think that it's wrong for me to say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna try to hang around the confident and happy people. And if you're insecure and if you're kind of high in anxiety and if you're kind of miserable, I'm gonna kind of avoid you. Do you think that's wrong to say?
Um, I think that every interaction should have a purpose. Um, and when I say purpose, I mean like a fair exchange, just a fair exchange. If I'm here giving you my time and I'm something, then why would I just let you drain all of my energy and keep letting you drain my energy and have when I say nothing in return, I'm not saying like money or anything, but at least the same amount of energy. I feel like there's a lot of people that are just giving, giving, and giving, and giving, and other people are just taking and taking and taking, and I don't feel like that's fair. I feel like you should at least be fair with each other on energy exchanges, if you know what I mean, interaction. So it's not about, I don't want to hang out with them. Are you ready to hang out with them? Can you protect your energy? Do you have strong that you're not going to allow yourself to be in, have a good that you go and recharge? Like, are you taking care of yourself in that matters? Because if you're just hanging out with other people and you're not even knowing what's going on, you get at home and you get so drained, and now you don't even have a motivation to wake up in the morning. Your life is just the same cycle, and you're not doing anything with your life. So you a lot of people will benefit if you take care of yourself, if you be a little bit selfish, because you're actually adding to society by taking care of yourself. So I don't feel like that's, I feel like that's fair.